Now turn the microphone to Special Rapporteur Ms. Alice Jill Edwards to present her briefing. The floor is yours.
Honourable Chair, distinguished delegates, today's wars are marked by torture and other cruelty. 40 years after the creation of the Special Rapporteur on Torture and 80 years since the founding of the United Nations, we are witnessing a dangerous resurgence of physical, psychological and sexual torture, especially in wars where cruelty has become a weapon of control and humiliation. What I have seen and heard from survivors in the past year is nothing short of shocking. Men and women scarred by electric shocks, severe beatings, sexual violence, and the agony of being filmed while tortured, their suffering weaponized as propaganda. In this, my fourth report to this Assembly, A/80/137, I have documented violations in 15 armed conflicts and other situations of insecurity, among them the theatres of war of Russia and Ukraine, Gaza and Israel, Myanmar, Sudan and Yemen. Torture in war is not an accident of battle. It is being used systematically, deliberately and often proudly. It spreads terror among civilians, breaks prisoners' resistance and dehumanizes people and communities. States have obligations to their soldiers too, that they return from battle morally intact. They should be able to hold their heads up high and know that even in adversity, they conducted themselves in accordance with the laws of war, laws that were put in place by this international community to protect against abusive and cruel conduct. I remind all states, and I do so again here, of what you agreed, that even in times of war, torture and other inhumane acts are prohibited. There are no exceptional circumstances that permit or justify them. Yet today, in this era of instant video and digital evidence, cruelty is becoming normalized. When wars end, the hard work of recovery begins. Where torture has been used, that rebuilding takes longer, requiring patient rehabilitation and often decades-long processes of truth-telling and accountability. For those countries emerging from conflict, Armenia and Azerbaijan, and Syria, and in recent days, Israel and Gaza, we must insist that justice is available to all victims and survivors. Authorities must not be selective or reward only the favoured. As defence budgets expand, I urge all governments to ensure that military and security spending includes clear strategies to prevent torture and other ill treatment, including training, monitoring, and protection for whistleblowers. Torture is never a legitimate military tactic. It is always a crime. Mr. Chair, that contradiction between norms and reality is at the heart of my report. While the prohibition is absolute, its enforcement remains mixed. Laws exist, but are often ignored or undermined. Investigations open, but rarely conclude. Victims speak out, but justice seldom follows. Nevertheless, there are some robust signs of progress. Côte d'Ivoire, Denmark and Mauritius have strengthened domestic laws. Spain has improved its complaints procedures. The adoption of the Istanbul Protocol in countries including Azerbaijan and Tajikistan have elevated the professionalism of medical and legal investigations. Courts in Brazil and Nigeria have taken measures to exclude evidence obtained under torture. Still, accountability remains the exception, not the rule. Universal jurisdiction is a mechanism breaking the wall of impunity. I call on more states to use it boldly. At the international level, the picture is mixed. Withdrawals from the International Criminal Court are worrying. Meanwhile, Ukraine joined the ICC and the Gambia is advancing on its hybrid tribunal. Regional human rights courts continue to issue landmark rulings. The international justice system is being tested, but so far it is holding. Torture thrives in the shadow of detention. Around the world, prison systems are overcrowded, under-resourced and dangerously neglected. Inmates languish in pretrial detention for years. Mental health crises go untreated. My report recognises that many countries are working hard to improve their standards and performances in this domain. Colombia, Brazil, Morocco, Albania, and Mongolia are developing alternatives to custody. Malawi and Mexico are reforming prisons to focus on rehabilitation and social reintegration. Armenia, North Macedonia, and South Korea have improved healthcare in detention. These reforms prove that prevention works when states choose to make it a priority. I encourage greater investments in prison infrastructure, conditions, and independent oversight. My report also covers 10 other pressing trends. I draw attention to the wrongful detention of foreign nationals and the taking of hostages, practices that must be called out for what they are, forms of torture and cruel treatment. Families this week can all sigh relief at the release of the 20 living Israeli hostages, as well as families welcoming back during the exchange of 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and other detainees, as well as the cessation of hostilities. My report also documents torture as a tool of repression against political opponents and religious minorities in many countries. It documents corporal mutilation as a criminal penalty, including in Iran. The use of experimental drug cocktails in executions in the United States, and the violent exclusion of women and girls from public life in Afghanistan, as well as incidents of refoulement during mass deportations in several regions. During crowd control operations, I have witnessed too many examples of the excessive use of force and the mismanagement of less lethal weapons, resulting in deaths and serious injuries. There is an urgent need to regulate and control transparently the manufacture, use, and trade of law enforcement, weapons, and equipment. Now is the time to act. I encourage you to join the campaign towards a global torture-free trade agreement. To strengthen my mandate, in the face of these challenges, I am proposing modernised working methods, including flexible and rapid response visits with forensic expertise. In a world where crises unfold in days, I must be able to act with similar speed. I invite you to consider this ahead of the mandate renewal in 2026. Distinguished delegates, the extent of these violations must not defeat our resolve to eradicate torture, even in these most trying of times. Torture is not inevitable. It is a choice, a political decision made by those who wield power without conscience. And that means that the antidote must also be a choice, the choice for peace, justice, and progress. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. The Special Rapporteur, Ms. Alice Jill Edwards, for